All right, guys, I hope you're all doing well here in week 6 of the semester. This is the week that we start working on Rome. So what I'm doing for you today is just giving you a little bit of a PowerPoint lecture to supplement your readings. Some of the readings are going to overlap with what we talk about here, but also there's some new information in here that you might find helpful. So let's go for it. I'll try and keep this as short as possible, and I'll go kind of fast so that it doesn't become a super long video. I've got subtitles here I'm trying out to make this ADA compliant. We'll see how that goes. 88, I love that, not ADA. Anyway, Rome was founded in the 8th century BCE in the Italian peninsula. Rome is still there to this very day. The city of it, it's the capital of the nation of Italy, but long before that, it was a city-state, kind of in the Greek model. One of the cool things about Rome, and they don't really talk about this in the book, is that there's this founding myth that, or maybe they do touch on this a tiny bit in the book, but anyway, the founding myth of Rome is that there were two brothers. They're Trojan princes. When Troy was destroyed in Greece, a bunch of refugees fled to the Italian peninsula, and they set up a new city on the model of Troy. And the legend goes that two brothers, Romulus and Remus, were raised by a she-wolf. So you can kind of see this in the picture here where they're suckling at the teats of their wolf mother. And being of kind of wolf DNA, or having like this wolf family, raised them to be big, strong, tough warriors. And when they're building the city, these two brothers have a fight because Remus he jumps over an unfinished portion of the wall around Rome that Romulus is working on. And Romulus sees this as a insult because he says, no one shall ever cross over the boundaries of Rome without the permission of Romans, and he kills his brother because he desecrates the walls of Rome. Now, this is probably fake news. This is not a real thing, but anyway, it's part of the founding myth of Rome that it was designed to be this big, strong city from the beginning with crazy she-wolf people as the main citizenry, and their walls were going to be impenetrable. So it's just kind of a fun little side story about the founding of Rome. Now, they started out as being part of the Etruscan Empire, which is a kingdom to the north of Rome. But the Latins, or the people of Rome, they speak the Latin language. That's where we get Latin from. The Latin tribes in and around Rome gained independence from the Etruscans, and they established their own kingdom. Now, from the very beginning, the Roman or Latin kings, this is interchangeable at this point, Latin and Roman, the kings were restricted by certain laws. So from the very get-go, the Romans understood that checks and balances were important to a robust government. And we'll talk about this a few different times today. So this kingship, this kingdom doesn't last very long, only about, I think, 30 or 40 years before Rome just dispenses of their kings altogether. And they set up what's called a republic. Now, a lot of people will debate about like the exact definition of republic, but in a republic, typically you have some kind of representation on the part of the citizenry. That's kind of the baseline definition of a republic, where citizens have a say in their government, and they do that through elected representatives. And you see that in the Senate. So like there's three main parts of the Roman Republic. There are three branches of government. And if three branches of government sounds familiar, it's because the United States founding fathers set up their own republic in the late 18th century, based largely on the Roman model, including the Senate. So the Senate the Senate in the Roman tradition were the aristocracy. These are it's very difficult to get into the Senate if you're not super rich and super privileged. You need to come from an important family, even to be considered to run for the Senate. So this is the body that they kind of create laws, they make decrees, they oversee the foreign policy of Rome, they set the budget of Rome. And this is still kind of reflected in the American model, where there's a foreign relations committee that's pretty powerful. Congress sets the budget. It's not the president that's supposed to set the budget. It's Congress. That's one of Congress's main jobs. So this kind of idea of having the legislative branch make the laws is a time-honored tradition. So alongside the Senate, we have legislative assemblies. These are kind of local plebeian offices, and the plebes are like the common people. They elect local office holders. These legislative assemblies, create rules for certain neighborhoods of Rome or certain districts of Rome. They also serve as the judicial branch, and they appoint magistrates, which is the third branch of government. The magistrates are as close as we can get to the executive branch in the American model. This is not a perfect one-for-one copy of the American government versus Rome, but the magistrates are the executive officers. They serve one-year terms, and it's this revolving door where they cannot serve the same job for 10 years. So if you are, elected to a particular post, let's say Postmaster General of Rome, you can't do that job again for 10 years. And the reason why they have this rule is to prevent corruption from seeping into their system. So you might support this idea, you might not, but it's a Roman idea to try and keep balance between these and within these different branches of government. Now, the most important magistrates, the ones that you hear about most in Roman history, are the consuls. They're the highest rank, and I'm not ready yet. They have a bunch of different functions. There's always two of them, and they kind of function as co-presidents, if you will. They will lead armies into the field. They'll take turns being commander-in-chief. They will have various functions in peacetime that are kind of like the president of the United States. But there's always two of them, and it's the highest honor. It's the highest office in the land. But again, you can't really serve consecutive terms as consul. You have to give your power away after a year to another, usually a senator. It's pretty common for senators to become magistrates. So Roman culture is heavily based on this hyper masculinity. The man is the head of the family. The men in the Latin tribes decide absolutely everything. Women are just there to be baby machines. And there's this kind of culture based on this idea that the man is the highest form of humanity. And there's, in fact, this Roman custom to back this up. It's embedded in their legal code, patria potestas, this idea that the father has the supreme power over his household, and that includes selling his children into slavery if he wants. He can commit all kinds of abuses on his family, and it's totally legal. So the man rules everything in Rome. There's also this idea of ancestor worship. The nuclear family and the extended family are very important pillars of Roman cultural life. So you pray to your ancestors in times of need. And if you've seen the movie Gladiator, Russell Crowe has little totems of his ancestors that he prays to at a certain point in the movie. So a lot of Greek tradition is carried over to the Romans. The Romans and Greeks have lots of trade and international intercourse with one another in lots of different cultural and mercantile ways. And they essentially lift the Greek gods and place them into their own pantheon. So Ares, the god of war, becomes Mars. Zeus becomes Jupiter, you know, all these things. And throughout this kind of Roman culture, we see not only the copying and pasting of Greek traditions, but also the time-honored tradition of keeping women in the corner. They're afforded very few rights when it comes to Roman legal culture and Roman society. So a quick little ditty on the Punic Wars, which your book does talk about. Rome was the nemesis of another city-state in North Africa called Carthage. And Carthage is a very large and rich city. They have a trading empire throughout the Mediterranean Sea. After the Greeks kind of collapse and lose a lot of their influence, Carthage is there to pick up the pieces. And they inherit a lot of the same trade posts and trading colonies that the Greeks had. They have this incredibly large and sophisticated navy, which helps them keep control over the Mediterranean Sea. And I mentioned the colonies and trading posts. The only weakness that Carthage has is they don't rely on a standing army. They don't have a professional army like the Romans do. In the Roman tradition, pretty much every able-bodied man, has to serve some function in the military at some point in their lives. This is not the case for the Carthaginians. They rely on mercenaries from elsewhere in North Africa, especially the Numidians to the south and west, to supplement their armies. So to kind of give you an idea where this is happening, Rome is up here in the northeast of the map. They hold sway. By the time we get to the conflict between these two city-states, Rome holds complete dominion over most of the Italian peninsula. Carthage has much more territory under its control, spread throughout the Mediterranean. And what you see on the map is just a piece of it. They own more territory to the east. But the moment of conflict comes in the island of Sicily, when Rome and Carthage are vying for dominion and control over the city of Syracuse and the Sicilian island in general. And they go to war. Long story short, there are 3 different Punic Wars. They're called Punic because, I guess, like Carthage, I don't know. There's some kind of linguistic root in Punic to represent Carthage. I don't know much more than that. I'd have to look it up, honestly, because this part of history is not my strongest suit. But the Punic Wars are it's a series of 3 different conflicts between Rome and Carthage. The first one is fought over control of Sicily. It's a really boring war. Despite going on for many years, not much happens. One side can't get the upper hand. But the way that the Romans eventually come out on top is they're able to retrofit some of their ships to meet the Carthaginians on the sea and bring their strengths to naval combat. So Carthage is really good at naval combat. They've got really good ships. Like ship-to-ship combat is their strong suit. Rome has a really great army. And so land battles are their strong suit. So what Rome cleverly does is they retrofit some of their ships to bring the land battle to the sea. You can kind of see here in this, sorry, it's not a very clear picture, but they have this boarding plank put on the mast of their ships, and it's got this kind of tooth on the very end, and they'll sail right up to a Carthaginian ship and drop the plank. The tooth sinks into the deck of the enemy ship, and the Roman legions are able to, traverse from ship to ship and go and fight hand-to-hand combat rather than try and go toe-to-toe with Carthage in ship-to-ship combat. So here the Romans are quite cleverly able to translate their advantage on land to the sea, and they eventually win this war. There's a treaty that's signed. Carthage has diminished in some of its power, but it's still pretty strong. The Second Punic War kicks off a generation later, and the main enemy of Rome is Hannibal. Hannibal is a famous Carthaginian general. One of the things that he does to try and surprise Rome and get the upper hand is he starts out in Spain, and he marches all the way around the Italian Alps and attacks Rome from their rear. They surprise the Romans by marching over the Alps. And not only do they take a big army with them, but they take several dozen elephants, war elephants from North Africa with them, which is really just incredible that they're able to cross over these mountains with a bunch of elephants. But these elephants form the shock troops of the Carthaginian army. Most Romans have never seen an elephant before. They see these things and they're scared. It's kind of a morale effect on encountering war elephants in battle. And Hannibal manages to win several very decisive battles, like big battles over Rome. Tens of thousands of Roman soldiers are killed in combat over the next several years. And Hannibal looks like he's about to win. But Rome, just through sheer force of will, are able to finally kind of, win the war of attrition. Hannibal ends up losing all of his war elephants. He ends up losing a lot of his troops in Italy. He can't get supplied by sea because the Romans control the Mediterranean Sea now. And he eventually has to retreat back to North Africa, where he's decisively defeated. And that ends the Second Punic War. The Third Punic War is basically just Rome coming down to Carthage and burning it once and for all. So this brings us then to a period of rapid Roman expansion, where after they beat Carthage, they're able to annex a bunch of territories in the Mediterranean and add it to a new Roman Empire. So we get Macedonia and Greece, the two places that we talked about in the last several weeks. They come under Roman control. They become Roman territories. Spain, which was once held by Carthage, becomes a Roman territory. Gaul, which is basically what we call France now. All these places are annexed into an expanding Roman polity. And as Rome begins to conquer its enemies one by one, without the threat of an external enemy, the Romans start to kind of turn within, and you could kind of look at this as a period of decadence where the Romans there's no external enemy to unite Rome. So they start squabbling amongst themselves and fighting each other. There's a series of rivalries among different Roman generals and senators. Factions are formed in the Roman Senate. And very soon we get the rise of populism, where senators like Catiline, you can see in this picture in the bottom right, the Senator Catiline is one of the first populists in the Roman Senate, where he basically goes to the common people, the plebes, and he says, I am going to give you guys a bunch of stuff. I'm going to wipe out your debt. I'm going to give you land. I promise to borrow a recent political phrase, I'm going to make Rome great again. And therefore you should support me in doing this. I'm a champion of the common person. And Catiline presents himself as a political outsider, despite being from a very well-established family in the Senate, and he gains power this way, and this leads to a constitutional crisis. Your book will talk more about this, but basically, long story short, we get the rise of Julius Caesar because Caesar presents himself as an ally of Catiline and then betrays him and kind of takes up his mantle in the end. So hello. Ignore that fun little optical illusion. I'm hoping that these questions, these guided reading questions have been helpful for you guys. But basically what we're focusing on for this week is a couple different documents focusing on Roman law during the time of the Republic. We'll talk more about the fall of the Republic and the rise of the Roman Empire and the emperors next week. But this week we're focused on Roman law. And if you can get a grasp on these questions, you're going to be in good stead for the next analysis paper. Happening next week. So the 12 tables have to do with kind of the foundation of Roman law. Cicero has a really interesting discussion with himself, I suppose, about the laws of Rome. And he kind of considers what's the source of authority, what's the best form of government, what role do the gods have to do with creating Rome and Roman law. And basically, if you can just think about, what kinds of things do Romans prioritize in their law, you should be in pretty good stead. Yeah. So I hope these questions, these guided reading questions, are helpful for you. You don't have to turn these in, obviously, but if you want to make notes in supporting these questions and answering these questions, that will only help you when it comes time to writing the next paper. All right, guys, I got to go now, but I hope you're all doing well. I will try and get the exams graded as soon as possible. But in the meantime, have a good week. Don't forget to do the quiz at the end of the week, and let me know if you have any questions. Bye.